Shooting. When Memphis's front office told Ja that he should practice shooting more, he took that way too literally. First, there was a suspension, then the injury, and now we're at the end of the season without the Grizzlies in the playoffs, which begs the question, what happens when Ja returns? Hello again, basketball fans, and welcome back to Hoop Vision. According to Basketball Media, the 22-23 Grizzlies were the best young core in the entire NBA, and it wasn't even close in terms of how advanced they were on the stat sheet considering an average age difference from other teams. After this season, they're one of the league's bottom teams. Ja Morant messed up their season probably more than he expected to during last summer. To be fair, they did give us a treat when they demolished the Warriors led by Gigi Jackson, but other than that, this year was a disappointment. However, the NBA has plenty to worry about when Ja comes back. If you look at the West right now, it's stacked all the way to the last spot. When teams like the Pelicans, Kings, Lakers, and Warriors are fighting to barely make it to postseason, you know the competition is tough. Now, add playoffs-ready Memphis to the equation, and it becomes quite obvious someone is getting kicked out from that top 10 next year. Ja Morant could make one of the biggest comebacks in modern sports if he does everything right. You couldn't ask for a better redemption narrative. A young NBA superstar makes a huge mistake and damages his career big time, only to come back more mature and carry his team to either conference finals or all the way to the chip. That would be crazy. However, aside from the gun incident, there's one more aspect of Ja's career that Memphis has to be worried about. To put things in perspective, Ja was drafted number 2 behind Zion and won Rookie of the Year, and then had another massive leap in year 3 where he increased his scoring averages from 19 to 27 and dunked on almost half the league. The Ja show was on, and the league took notice. Even Steve Kerr praised the Grizzlies for how they reminded him of the earlier Warriors, building their core around their draft picks in Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, and Jaren Jackson Jr. In the 22 and 23 season, Memphis had an average age of just 24 per player and was tearing the league apart offensively. The only squad that effective while that young were the 2011 KD, Westbrook, and Harden OKC Thunder. That momentum led to Ja's now infamous statement, "I'm fine in the West."
No one in the West.
Nah, I'm fine in the West.
Since then, nothing has been fine for both Ja or the Grizzlies. Brandon Clark injured his ACL against Denver. Then Ja gets caught flashing a gun at a strip club. Other police reports showed up saying he was involved in a group harassment of some college player. It was just an overall bad time for the Grizzlies. Mind you, this was all before the big 25-game suspension Ja got at the beginning of this season. It seems like he was purposefully willing to undermine his career, just because he thought guns would make him look cool. When you put the wrong people on a pedestal, that can wreck your entire identity. It is no secret Ja likes to hang out with rappers and tries to present himself as this tough, rough upbringing guy from the hood, but he is not anything like that. As a matter of fact, his childhood was great compared to many kids from tough environments. Ja grew up with a loving family. His father has been supportive his whole life, so him trying to be a gangster like all the so-called friends he surrounded himself with isn't going to help him at all. The best thing he could do is cut them off and find new role models to look up to. If he's such a good player now, imagine what he would be like if he reached over to some of the all-time greats for mentorship and workouts. Ja could develop a godlike mode on the court. Instead, he goes around with all those leeches that are in just for his money, flashing guns like toys and pretending to be a tough guy while having millions in the bank. And speaking of millions, Ja's childish behavior cost him a lot of them. Rough estimates are that he lost around $59 million in total for not being able to make the All-NBA team due to suspension, fine money, and lost endorsements. That's crazy when you think about how some players don't earn that in their entire career. Anyways, it seems like the big 25-game suspension did have an impact on him and calmed him down a little. Memphis went 6-19 without their franchise player, and won 4 in a row after his comeback. He said in interviews he felt regret for his actions and also felt guilty watching his team lose. That's a good sign of maturity coming from your best player. However, the new responsibility-taking Ja didn't last long. Just after 9 games in, the team announced Ja had to undergo a season-ending shoulder surgery. The worst thing is, he didn't even get hurt in the game, but during the warm-ups. The only upside to this injury is that it isn't career-altering like knees or ankles, but it still must have been horrible for both Ja and the Grizzlies to see their hopes hopes shattered right after making a comeback. The plan was to try to nullify the effects of the 25-game suspension and push for at least the play-in spot. But after Ja's injury, their bad luck started getting even worse. The Grizzlies have so many injured players this season that fans are calling them the NBA hospital. However, if things didn't go south, they would definitely be inside the postseason talks, which means one of the current teams would get squeezed out. The play-in teams are only a couple wins away from each other, and even the 6th seed isn't that far away from the 10th spot, meaning either the Warriors, Lakers, Kings, or the Pelicans would have probably missed this postseason if Ja was healthy. They had some luck this year, but next year things aren't going to be the same. According to the current state of the league, the Warriors have the biggest chance of being that team. The Draymond problem is hanging above them. There's also Klay's free agency situation, and the unrecognizable Wiggins isn't someone who can carry the dubs with next year's 36-year-old Curry. The Warriors have so much to deal with this summer, and God only knows what their team will look like next season. On the other hand, the Lakers are under the spotlight as LeBron is entering his final years, and every October will carry the question, is this the year? They initially expressed interest in landing DeJounte Murray, but as we've seen, they did not pull the trigger on that trade. Now there's been talks involving Donovan Mitchell or DeMar DeRozan, but it's still to be seen what happens in the draft and what LeBron will do regarding the situation around Bronny. The Lakers might just be crazy enough to draft him just for the sake of keeping LeBron happy, but that significantly lowers their chances of having another title run with him wearing purple and gold. However, they have some valuable picks they can trade this summer, so landing another star to play with AD and LeBron could actually create a disturbance in the West. Speaking of the West, a healthy Ja and the Grizzlies should scare not just the play-in teams, but those high seeds as well. Facing Memphis in the first round could be a tough challenge for anyone. Regardless of what you think of them, no team in the West can have an easy series against the young, hungry, and talented squad the Grizzlies have. Jaren Jackson Jr. is 24 years old, and this is his 6th season in the NBA. He's been improving in points every year and has the potential of being the best power forward center in the league. His defensive impact was recognized last season when he won the Defensive Player of the Year award. And on top of that, he's so valuable for the team on offense that it hurts seeing him playing without Ja, thinking what could have been if things were different. Memphis hasn't missed the playoffs since the 20 and 21 season, and Jackson's numbers have been only going up every year. Next year will be lit if him and Ja return with a vengeance mentality, which will mean fireworks on the court. Add Desmond Bane to the equation and you have a scary offense that can trouble even the Nuggets, OKC, and the Wolves. If one good thing has come out of this situation is the emergence of GG Jackson, who probably wouldn't get his opportunity if circumstances were normal. If he proves to be more than a one-hit wonder, the Grizzlies will not just be a threat next year, but they'll potentially be the most talented young core in the entire NBA, alongside OKC, who will test their limits in this year's playoffs. Their salary cap space issue makes it impossible to sign any big names in free agency, but it looks like they won't need anyone soon considering how much time they have to grow together and improve. If you take a look at Dallas, all they needed was one good trade and they revamped their team from being a play-in zone to cementing the 5th seed within a couple of weeks. The same goes for the Grizzlies, who will probably have a great start next year. Once Ja returns, the main question will be if he has learned his lessons while being away from the court. Maturing too late has always been the problem with super talented young athletes, not just in basketball, but all sports across the planet. The mental part seems to be the only thing that stops him from being truly great, and if he mans up and realizes that those rappers he hangs out with are slowly but surely killing his career, it'll be hard to predict how far he could lead this Memphis squad. Having D-Rose and Steven Adams on the roster is definitely a plus, since they're the guys who can teach him so much about the importance of character and how one's inner state affects their game. If Ja is 100% healthy next season, and the remaining injured players heal up as well, it's no overreaching to say Memphis could land somewhere between the 3rd and the 6th seed. If Golden State's dynasty doesn't fall apart due to some miracle this year, they're probably the first ones dropping out of the playoffs picture. We have made a video about their situation, so feel free to check it out right here. That's it for today, dear friends. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments below what you think of Ja's comeback and how far could he take the Grizzlies next year. Thank you for watching and growing this channel. Make sure you don't miss out on more NBA stories by hitting that subscribe button. See you in the next one.